we are very specific. When you come to us, you're basically at the end of the line because all the other options that are out there are the wrong tool for what you're coming up against. Things like this do come up, but those issues are, and I'm not wanting to downplay them. I mean, I've been sober now for, God, we're 2026, well over 20 years. So I know.
You know.
Those are not small things.
Hey everyone, it is Tony Will. Oh my gosh, you all are in for a treat today on Women In. I cannot wait for you to meet my next guest. But before you meet him, let me tell you what you're listening to. Women In is a podcast that celebrates women from all walks of life and the people who uplift them. Each episode features incredible voices from my world, sharing stories that spark inspiration, challenge the status quo, and remind us that empowering women empowers everyone. This is a bold, curious, and uncensored space where disruption is welcome, forward thinking is encouraged, and change is the goal. I'm passionate about breaking down barriers, not just for us, but for the next generations. Whether our paths cross, professionally or personally, these conversations matter. Let's dive in and celebrate the power of connection, growth, and the people who are shaping our world. And this gentleman is definitely one of them. Niels Say it for, I know, Niels. Say it for me. Niels, and then say your last name. Vantzuriel. Vantzuriel, thank you, is the rite of passage facilitator providing a biological exit strategy for the overworked, highly successful woman. Rejecting the exhausted no pain, no gain paradigm, he co-created the arrival method to guide massive life transitions through neurobiology of pleasure. With over a decade of experience at Ireland's forgotten sacred sites, Niels takes clients out of ordinary time and into liminal wilds. By blending deep trance and ancient storytelling, he provides a forged iron presence so women can safely drop their corporate armor. His mission is to help women rewrite their subconscious operating system and step into undeniable sovereignty. This is fabulous. Welcome to the podcast. I mean, this is so unique. Niels, I can't wait to dive in. Welcome to Women In.
Tony, thank you for having me. The challenging the status quo, yeah, that's kind of what I do. So looking forward to this.
Yeah, I mean, and you and I are going to be, as I said off air, we're going to be getting to know each other in real time as we record this, but I am simply fascinated by the work you do. And this is why you're on the podcast. So and the first question I like to ask everyone is, how did we come into each other's lives? Because I think it's important to highlight the power of saying yes. So how did you and I connect?
Honestly, it was via a website that's known as Podmatch. Mm-hmm. And I saw your profile. For me, it was, I need to reach out. So this is the same method that I use when I say yes to my clients. It's not a yes to anyone. It has to be from upstairs. It has to be a direct, this one. And from there, I don't really question anything anymore. I've stopped questioning a long time ago. So I just reached out and was going like, Tony, do you want to dance? Do you want to tango? That's basically it.
Yeah. And I was like, I read yours, and I don't say yes to everyone and it's not to say that I am looking for alignment. And I was like, wow, this right here is exactly what I'm looking for. So it was an easy yes. And if it weren't for platforms like Podmatch, I don't think I ever would have found you, or you would have found me, because you're in Ireland and I'm in the United States.
Until now, we've primarily been focusing on word of mouth. So it's been a very select group. And just if somebody has a great experience, they vet the next generation, their friends and their friends and their friends. It's only been the last 2 years that we've really been reaching out a little bit more. So a place like Podmatch is godsend.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I want to dig into who you are first, and then we're going to dive into your work. So take me back as far as you'd like, personally, professionally, probably a combination of the two. And who is the man that sits before me, and how did you end up doing the work you're doing now? So start back there, and then we'll get into working with women.
Well, I never expected to end up here. Never in a million. It's not as if you go to your high school counselor. Oh, Niels, what do you want to become? Well, let me tell you what I would like. No, nothing of the sort. I have a passion for history, which was given to me by my mother. She used to absolutely love Egyptology. was denied by her father to go into it. And almost like a revenge arc, she just propped the whole house full of old books and basically let me just devour that stuff from when I was young. So naturally, archaeology was my go-to. I didn't go into Egyptology, but I was always from a very young age on fascinated by just digging underneath the surface. Later on, that became combined with not just physically digging into the earth, it's also digging into the mind. I love to do hypnosis and very deep trance work. And that combination between digging into the earth and into the human mind, that was basically the starting point until I met my partner. She is Irish. And I came thinking that I knew everything that there was to know about European archaeology to Ireland and was gobsmacked about what I found here. Now, to the Irish, it is somewhat known, but outside of Ireland, the world is completely unaware of the absurd amount of both quality and quantity of megalithic ancient sacred sites that this island holds. And because it is so unknown, those sites have largely been ignored, and they are still, as a result, brimming with power. That piqued my interest, and the last 13 years, I've basically been visiting as many as I possibly can. Through the rain, through the midges. If you don't know Ireland or Scotland, midges are tiny little flies that will eat you alive if you're here in the summer. Through sunburn and hailstorms, I go out as much as I can just to walk the land and to visit these old places where nobody goes anymore. And there's power there because nobody goes there anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's just it.
Yeah. So you come to Ireland and you're not leaving. You told me that off air. So why are you not leaving? I need to hear this story. And I've never been. It's on the list to go, but I've never been.
Let's go into Wood right away. This land speaks. It speaks more than any country I've ever... And I have the great pleasure to have been able to travel quite a bit to the Middle East, to Russia, to the United States, all over Europe. This island, in the west of the country, there is a phrase or a concept that's known as Tenelach. That's Old Ancient Irish or Gaelic for, and I'm mispronouncing it, but Tenelach is basically the ability to hear the land speak or sing to you. So this is already part of the culture, that the land actually speaks to you. This even comes back in Irish political poetry. There is the idea of the Aisling, which is also the name of a beautiful Irish girl's name. And Aisling basically means the dream. And the idea is that Ireland, as an entity, as a living sovereign being, can visit you in your dreams and have a very specific story for you, which will then ripple out into the community and have political repercussions. Now, of course, this is steeped in a deep history of oppression and the fight for freedom with the English. But this idea that the land speaks, it speaks. So when I say I'm not allowed to leave, I mean that quite literally. I don't think that, I am so special. I'm far from it. But I got communicated to very, very clearly at a certain moment as, you want to play this game? Then you're not leaving. And that is kind of the atmosphere, that is the, how shall we say, that is the flavor that Ireland at least speaks to me. It is very in your face, it is a lot not messing about, and you have to earn your right. So it's not lovey-dovey in the slightest. It is very, you want to rock and rumble? Then you better bloody well show up. So that means walking the land over and over and over again and getting soaked as a result, being at the sacred sites. Now, of course, you can hear from my accent, I am not Irish. So it is something that has to be earned and maintained. So there's a very specific etiquette if the land speaks. And I'm very aware that it can be taken away as well, which is fine. I remember there is a old site It is dubbed to be the oldest continuously used ceremonial site in the in the old world. So think Europe, Africa, and Asia. Continuously used. So it's still used to this day by both pagans and Christians. And this place is so unassuming. It is known as the city of Shron. It is in the shadows of the holiest mountain of County Kerry, the Paps of Danu, or the breasts of the goddess Danu.
Yeah.
And the city of Shron it's a very unassuming site. If you don't know what you're looking at, you just go like, well, I am disappointed. So I'm walking around there and go like, I'm doing my thing and I'm doing a little ceremony, and I get a message. I don't get messages often, by the way. I get feelings, but this time I got messages. So I'm feeling, I'm important. The message was, you'll do. No, that's a bitch slap. That's a slap in the face to just put you in your place. You'll do. Okay. And that is the kind of feeling and atmosphere that has been around me walking this land the whole time. It's going like, hey, you're a guest here. Bloody well act like it. You want something? You better show up.
Do you classify this as like a medium because you're receiving messages? Do you label it that way?
Not really. Not really. I get that people would like to do that, and I don't blame them, but I try to stay away from it because it would limit it, and it would limit the way that the land communicates, and it does communicate. This sounds weird if you live in a city. If I live in a city, I don't feel the same way at all. But I'm out here in the middle of bloody nowhere. When I look up into the night sky, infinity is right there. Mm-hmm. I mean, the stars are so bright. And the land just speaks differently here. Is it mediumship? I'm sure you could classify it that way. I'm not really interested in that part. It's just the reality of what kind of happened. To
you, yeah. So a calling. Not that you want to label it, but when I wrote my book, my husband said, "Why are you writing this?" I'm like, I don't know. It's just a calling, and I'm answering it. Does that feel more aligned?
It is not just a need; it's an urgency. It's the same when the right clients come to your path. It is not a question of, are we going to do this? Would it make financially sense or anything like? No, it is literally, this needs to be done. It needs to be done now. It's like a freight train that you're standing in front. You're not stopping that freight train. Right.
Exactly. So let's talk about clients. I want to hear what you do, what brought you to work specifically with women in particular. As you know, that is what connected us. I'm often drawn to individuals, especially of the opposite sex, who understand the value of empowering women, lifting women up, all these things. So I would love to hear what the work is you do and why women.
Let's tackle that, and please remind me, because specifically the why women part, when we are talking, you can hear I am somewhat in the alternative space of things. When a man says I work only with women, oh man, your alarm bells should go off. So let's put a pin in that. I want to get back to that.
I love that you tackled it. That's funny.
So my mom, very strong. It's the second time that she comes up. Oh, she's going to be so proud. She's a very strong woman, a single mother household. My grandmother, bear of a woman. She could have been raised in Russia. That kind of a babushka-like strong energy. Always been surrounded by. So I'm very familiar with and very comfortable with. I've seen all the good and all the bad. I am not one that falls into the women are wonderful mythos out there. No, they're human. Yep. With all of the good and all of the other stuff. I've just seen too much. So it just came very, very naturally to work this way. My partner Elizabeth also works specifically with women. And the moment that we started to go to the land together, this started to just unfold very, very quickly. We started to invite our friends and we started to do ceremony, and this stuff started to really make an impact. And that just kind of snowballed out of just word of mouth, and it kept on going and going and going. And like I said, I did not plan for this, but hey, as long as I'll play. So what this actually is we call it rites of passage. And that is basically the old way of doing deep change work. Again, this is my archaeological background. The indigenous peoples of the world, they've always recognized that, hey, you are not a static being. You change from day to day, from moment to moment, but also through your life. You have so many different roles that you play. And some of those changes require you to completely reinvent yourself and build upon what came before, but not limit yourself to how you were back then. And those changes are sometimes so life-changing, so monumental, that a simple meditation or simple prayer or simple, I'm just going to stand still with this for a moment, it will not do. Because if you just do that, your old habits, your old belief systems, your old way of thinking about yourself will pull you back instead of fully planting yourself in that new way that you need to be. So the old ones came up with the idea of a rite of passage. Rites of passage are prolonged periods of time where you not so much isolate yourself, but you go into what I like to call liminal time and liminal space, a time outside of time and a place outside of normal space, out of sight of your normal way in your normal environment, where you have the option to reinvent yourself and to be held to a new standard. Young boys would get initiations into hunter societies when they were ready to do so, as in, hey, you now really have to step up. You're taking up more calories than you're actually bringing into the tribe. You need to go ahead and bring in some more food ASAP, please. But before you do, there's a whole set of rituals, there's a whole set of expectations and way to hold yourself in the forest that you need to learn and need to make your own. If a woman is done with her childbearing years and is now ready to move into a different kind of mothership, maybe eldership for the tribe, is a completely different way of holding yourself, of using that creative energy that used to go into raising children to now both create something inside of you that then ripples out into your wider community. It's a completely different way of holding yourself. There's different energetics connected to that. The ancients knew this, and they created a very specific technology with putting you aside, preparing you, going down into the depths, into the underworld, and finally coming back out on the other side in a way that you are witnessed by your community, by people that deeply care about you, to hold you to, hey, you say that you're now going to be this new person, we're going to bloody well hold you to that. No going back anymore. And in that way, it's almost a community effort for you to step into that new role and keep on doing it. Now, we've lost that. We've completely lost. The only real way that I can still think of that comes close is marriage. Basically, we treat you differently the moment that you're married. Basically, you're off limits now. We should no longer make a pass at you. I understand modern society, but we should no longer treat you in certain ways, and we do expect now different responsibilities from you. And you do this saying of vows in front of your loved ones, number one, because you care about them, but number two, also, again, to be witnessed that, hey, I am choosing this, this, and this, and you're basically holding me to this. Now, this is oftentimes forgotten, but that is what the ceremony, at least in my mind, absolutely is. But you can use that kind of technology for a lot of different change work. So the women that come to us are talking about those kinds of big changes. And when I say big changes, this is stuff that, bear with me here, this is the stuff that they've always had inside. But they're very smart, they're very successful, got strong will and strong mind, and that has basically built for them their empire, great careers, their mothers, their daughters, their friends, their wives. They lead in the boardroom, all of that, very oftentimes masculine push energy, and they've been able to achieve so bloody much in society as a result of that. But all the while, that thing that has always been in the background, you could call it a calling, is starting to become louder and louder and louder until it's a bloody siren going off in their ear. And oftentimes it's not the divorce itself that is the reason, but it's a symptom of something needs to change. The life that you've built is beautiful, but it can no longer sustain or project you into where you need to go next. And that is that big thing that they come to us for that rite of passage, to birth something new. Oftentimes it's something that they've been gestating their whole lives. And if, again, we want to get really woo-woo, maybe even gestating multiple lifetimes. And it's something different for everyone, but it's impactful.
So this rite of passage and the transitions that these women are going through that you've mentioned or feel called to go through, or the inner knowing, I call it inner knowing. I use that when I'm coaching my clients, specific to when they want to quit drinking. And it was just an inner knowing in me that alcohol was no longer serving me. My relationship with it was fucked, and I wanted to change it. And so it was then that I, started down that path. Now, it was not easy, but here I am almost 6 years later, helping others do the same. That's one example of a... Thank you.
6 years? Wow.
Yeah. It's coming up. And, it's changed my life in every... Like, you remove this one thing from my life, all these things opened up. So what I'm hearing from you is it could be a rite of passage with that example I gave, or being an empty nester, or divorce. I mean, it could be all kinds of things. So your coaching program, or the rite of passage, tell me about that part. Is this like these women are bringing you these examples, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to hold you accountable to it, and we're going to help you get there even when it's hard?
Yes, but.
Okay. Yes, but. Give me more.
So we are very specific. When you come to us, you're basically at the end of the line, because all the other options that are out there are the wrong tool for what you're coming up against. Things like this do come up, but those issues are, and I'm not wanting to downplay them. I mean, I've been sober now for, we're 2026, well over 20 years. So I know. Those are not small things, and they need to be celebrated. Mm-hmm. And they need to have structure and support to be put into place. But oftentimes by day 1 or day 2 of a 6 to 8 day process minimum, when we are face to face, and the process itself, we prepare them weeks to months in advance, and we keep on walking with them weeks and months afterwards. We take this very seriously. They figure out very quickly the issue is never the issue. The stated issue, very rarely, it is a symptom for something deeper that's underneath. Now, will you get tools to be able to deal with the stated issue? Of course we're going to have, and stuff is going to come up. But this is not mainly this is not therapy, it's not mental therapy, it is not an addiction solving. This is a completely different ball game of, I need to make a change so big in my own self-conception, and I can't find anywhere that tackles it on the level that I need it to. We are oftentimes talking about, I know my larger being, and it's preposterous what I'm thinking, but she's coming through, come hell or high water, and there's no way in hell that I can do this by myself. I could, but I'm going to go crazy. These are the energies that we're dealing with. That's the kind of level that we're talking about.
Give me like an example of one of your success stories coming out of this. A woman comes to you with, of course, keeping her anonymity, but give me an example of someone who's at that spot and they are just like, I'm because it sounds like they're coming to Ireland to do this work.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Use Ireland as a part of the technology. We're going to these old thin places, those sacred sites, and using them in the way that they were built to be used. Now, we don't really remember, we don't have the knowledge of how they were used, but it's obvious that they're ceremonial places, and us being humans, we recognize them as such. So it's very easy to go into ceremony, and ceremony is basically a fancy word of saying you're going into trance. Yep. One way or another, you're going to go into trance, and trance is where it's at, because there you can go into the larger part of your being. Now, normally a hypnotist would say the subconscious and all. We approach this on every part of your being. So the physical, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, the subconscious. We tackle everything. We leave no stone unturned. So you're working with the sacred sites. Can you remind me of what your question was? Because I was on a roll. I need to make sense of this somehow.
It's okay that we're being human, remember? Yeah, like an example, like a success story of a woman. Yeah, like tell me like what she came to you with and then who she is now.
Yeah. I'll keep it nice and vague. This woman, she was one of the younger ones, the oldest that I've worked with until now, 72, the youngest 27. This one was one of the younger ones. She knew that she had a very high being wanting to come through, that she recognized as being part of herself. And you go like, okay, well, we'll see what we can do. Day one, in the ceremonial circle, so old stone circle, she makes the ground shake. Not figuratively, no, earthquake. And you there as the facilitator just have to go like, yeah, this happens all the time, nothing to worry about. Oh, this is just another Tuesday for me. And all of this, I'm going like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like what do I do with this?
Yes, exactly. Just play it cool. Once we are done with all of the aftercare and all of that, she is now moving back to her home country. She's starting a new career, engaged to be married. And most importantly, and this is where for her the money is, she now knows what it means to be completely into her feminine, which for her is an access point to get that other part of herself start to flow through. Now, this is vague. I know it is vague, but for the people who are the right people, they know exactly what this means. If you're so much in your masculine push energy to get things done in the corporate world or in our modern society, it's very easy to close off what comes natural to the women that I work with, which is being completely in your open receptivity. That is where your magic is. That's where your creational forces are the strongest. And when you are there and you feel so safe, you feel so beautiful, you feel so cherished and seen, that it's finally possible to let the guard down and to start to open up to that larger part of yourself. That's where magic happens. And what I've seen women do is change their reality in a way that they know how, that I as a man I can't do it. I need to work linearly from A to B, and that's not how their magic is at all. So when they are in a state like that, change comes really easy to them, and it feels really good. That's a bonus. That's a plus. So for her, she now has not just regular contact with that larger part of her being that she recognized, that she only dreamed of. It is starting to take over her life, and she's able to do this in a very grounded way, and that is important to us. If you're dealing with both either this kind of deep change work or with the energies that come with it, I use the phrase, oh, you can go crazy. I mean that quite literally. If you don't do this correctly, you are playing with fire. You have to be careful. So change, you don't do this kind of change like I make this joke on every podcast. So if people are hearing me go, oh, here he goes. We say to the girls here, when you go back home, you are not allowed to divorce your husband the first week that you're back. And you're not allowed to quit your job the first week that you're back. That's not how you do change. Sustainable change, you do small, deliberate acts so that you can grow your roots first before you unfurl your wings. That's how you do manageable change on a massive scale.
100%.
Otherwise, you destroy your life.
Yeah, I call this, it's not a light switch, it's a seed. So a light switch, if the problem is you walk into a dark room and you can't see, you throw the light switch on, oh, problem solved. That's not how change works. It's a seed, you plant it, you water it, you nurture it, you move it to a different pot, you move it in the sun, the shade. It takes a ton of time to grow into a beautiful tree that can withstand the elements. And so I applaud that, whether a joke or not. I think it's great wisdom that people need to hear. And everyone, we're in an instant gratification society. Everyone wants the change they want now. And that's not how it works. You really have to when you're ready for change, there's 5 stages to it that I wrote about because it takes time. It's not, it's what you're talking about. And then bringing in the work you're doing in Ireland and the sacred sites and the history and the energy of the country. And I just think it is so unique and profound and needed because I always say this, there's not one way to change. There are multiple pathways to changing something about yourself. And here's the thing I resonate the most with. It is the masculine and the feminine energy. As a leader in a men's world, in men's professional hockey as my day job, it is something I continuously work on, is bringing that feminine side of me, because that's what makes me an excellent leader, is that I think differently, and women bring something different to the table. And so I'm constantly working on pulling that side of me into that work and not feeling like I have to act like a guy to get somewhere.
Amen to that. Amen. That's beautifully put, and that's exactly, hopefully, what the end result is. And it's a continuous thing because you are almost seduced to going back into that push energy. And we give you the tools that are really addictive to make sure that you stay in your feminine as much as you possibly can. Now, I do want to get back into the whole, hey, what are you doing with women up on the mountainside? That's iffy. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, dive into that. Why women?
I'm going to make this worse. Women on a mountainside in the middle of nowhere, working with pleasure, unapologetically. Oh yeah, we're going there.
We're going there. Okay, do tell.
So I work with a tool and is only one of the tools, but it's the one that jumps out the most. So hey, we might as well just tackle that. It's called growth through pleasure, and it's the idea that we have so many different ways of growing, but primarily, if you really look at it, people run away from pain and they run towards pleasure.
Yes.
Now, the pain part, we all know. It's through the striving, the suffering, the put your hands on the stove. You do that once. It's cognitively very sticky. You will never do that again. But it's also another example that people might have heard me say before. As you are a young child and you speak up for your needs, maybe it's a cookie, maybe it's a hug, and you do that with an unstable family member that has no time for you at that moment, you get the message very quickly, oh, speaking up for my needs is unsafe. That is learning through pain. That's learning through it's cognitively very narrowing. It is evolutionarily speaking very effective, but it comes with a lot of baggage. And especially if you're in the pursuit of self-development, it is not the most ideal tool. And there are other tools, and we're starting to figure this out. Now, I kind of stumbled on this by accident. I noticed up on the mountains, the moment that my girls were in, and I call them my girls, women. Mm-hmm. This is, again, I am not a therapist, so I am right there in the bloody mud and with the midges in your face. I'm right there. It's a completely different way of working, but it's highly effective, and everybody knows exactly what they're getting themselves into ahead of time. What I notice is when the women that we work with, deep trance, they feel so amazing. The more good that they feel, the deeper that those changes tend to go, and most importantly, stick. So I'm noticing this, and I'm going like, well, this is interesting. I'm not a neurobiologist. I have no idea why that would be. So I kind of just backtracked and started to educate myself. What is going on inside of their heads that makes this specific process them feeling really good, so effective for making change stick. And I kind of just, I backtracked. So instead of coming up with an idea somewhere in a lab, going, hey, let's try this out in the mountains. No, I noticed something in the mountains and went to basically the lab, or in my case, books, trying to go, okay, what is going on here? The thing that I figured out was women have the female brain has a biological superpower, actually multiple mechanisms that makes them so distinct from male brains that they respond better to pleasure than the male brain, to such an extent that you can actually use it to fundamentally change your core self concepts. Now, you can start very easily with, hey, anytime that you do the right new thing, every time that you hold up a boundary, every time that you say, hey, this is the way that I am going to respond to this now, anytime that you don't yell at your kids, anytime that you do not lose your cool, or that you say to your boss, not today, you get to feel amazing. Anytime that you tell me the truth, or that you stand up for yourself, you get to feel amazing. It's basically just a Pavlovian reaction of you learning to feel really good every time that you do the right thing. But this goes deeper. That feeling good, and just to clarify, when I say working with pleasure, the clothes, they stay on.
Yeah.
I might touch you behind the neck. If we're on the cliffside, I want to make sure that you don't tumble into the sea. I might touch you on the shoulder, on the elbow, maybe even be on the wrist, but that's about what we do. And from there, we teach you how to, on command, get into contact with your own reward system inside of your own brain. So it starts very obviously with, you do the right thing, you feel amazing. But on top of that, you can go even deeper in very deep peak states that can be a religious fervor or a religious ecstasy. It can be very emotional. An example that I love to give is, what did it feel like when you looked into the eyes of your firstborn for the first time? That's a feeling. That's, for many women, that is very pleasurable. What does it feel like when you are seen to do something amazing for the people that you love, and they notice it and they just light up? What does that feel like? That is a pleasure state that you can use, all the way to romantic and erotic pleasure. Whatever floats their boat, I am there just to guide them and to make sure that everything is safe. You can use those pleasure and peak states to basically lock in new behaviors on a neurological level. You have to do this via repetition. It is not as neurologically sticky as growing through pain. But if you do this in the right way and repeat it multiple times over, it becomes just as well formed of a neurological network or pathway that you can walk down again and again and again. And we train. It's not just, oh, you feel good once. No, if I want you to have skills. The moment that you walk away from us, I want you to, if we never talk again, which is unlikely because we do the aftercare project for months, but if we never talk again, you have every single skill that I promised to give you, because we rehearsed it over and over and over again. When you're back home, it's not just like, oh, I had a peak experience somewhere in Ireland. Your brain is very quickly going to go, oh, that was a nice experience. It was a daydream. And then your old identity is going to come back with a vengeance if you do not have the tools. So we teach you, show me. Every single day, I want you to show me what you learned yesterday, and we're going to go through this, and we're going to loop it. The cool thing about trance is you can loop everything within seconds and just rehearse it 100 times over, quite literally, in seconds. But I want you to show me.
Yeah,
that was a lot, wasn't it?
No, I mean, I totally get it, because that's exactly how my experience with change was. I mean, I could even draw it back to like when I started to exercise years ago. At first it wasn't pleasurable, but those dopamine receptors, they get in the brain, they shoot off. And I didn't dread exercise as much because it felt good once you keep doing it. over and over and over and over and over again. And so that's what first came to mind. But every time you come away from an experience, the first time you stop drinking and you go out and you don't drink, there's a reward for that. That feels good. Telling the truth about, hey, I'm going out to dinner and I'm going to be home by 8 o'clock, and you make it home by 8 o'clock because you're not out drinking, feels good. Like you are who you say you are, not just in words, but in actions. And so it made total sense to me. And for other people, like it wouldn't have 6 years ago. I'd have been like, what is this guy fucking talking about? But I get it because I've done the work. So I get it.
Your example of exercise is spot on, because when I say, hey, we go into the mountains, I do mean that you're going to work up a sweat, and it's part of the process. I only figured this out afterwards, going like, okay, what's going on here? There's a chemical known as BDNF. It's not a chemical, it's a protein if I'm not mistaken. Brain-derived neurotropic factor. It's basically released in your system the moment that your heart rate goes up sustainably for a long time. Now, hiking in the Irish mountains, your heart rate is going to go up. What it does in the brain is it makes it more malleable. It makes connections, malleable is not the right word. It's basically brain fertilizer. So the moment that you are doing this, you're hiking up for an hour to an hour and 30 minutes to the sacred site. It depends upon the stamina of the girl. If she's had a very particular rough day the day before, we adjust. Or it really depends upon, okay, what kind of physical stamina do you bring to Ireland? But you hike, your heart rate goes up. Then you get to the sacred site. Your brain is already drenched in this rich compost that is specifically made for your brain to change. Then you do the change work, and then you walk back in deep contemplation or silence, or a lot of laughing and joking, and snacks are also involved, but with intention back to the car. You're still hiking through rough terrain. So you are literally molding and putting into place those new connections, neurological connections, that during those pleasure states have become very malleable. We're now cementing them into place. And then we keep on doing that through the next couple of days. We are cementing that in. This is not just, growing through pleasure. That means I can get a massage and it will have life-changing effects. That's not how it works. There's a very specific process that goes into place, and the hiking is an integral part of it.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Okay, we're going to change gears a little bit as we get towards the end of our time together, but I definitely want to make sure we give enough airtime to the women in your life. You mentioned your mom, your grandma, and your partner throughout our conversation today, but who are the women in your life that have helped you become the man that sits before me today?
Elizabeth, my partner. Mm-hmm. Undoubtedly her. The last 13 years. So this might be recognizable, coming out of a female-led household, very in touch with my feminine when I was younger, and it was a strong suit. Oh God, was I sorely missing in the masculine aspect of things. It was just, I didn't know it at the time. It's the standard, you don't know what you don't know. But looking back at it, I'm going, yeah, I was. And Elizabeth has very deep spiritual experiences. The type that walks with angels all day, every day. Mm. That comes with a very specific energy pattern, a frequency. Try being intimate with that. You get knocked out very, very quickly. So the approach that I was taking, not the right approach. On top of that, we live in a place that is called the Beara Peninsula. This is the home of the Celtic goddess known as the kayak. This is literally her home turf. The kayak is known all across the British Isles as, of the three sovereignty goddesses, she would be the elder. The divine hag, if you will. Mm-hmm. And she's known all over the British Isles, but her home turf is this piece of land where I'm sitting right now. That means that the energies are very, very strong here. She's also known as the Queen of Winter and the Queen of Storms. I mean, it's beautiful green behind me now, but half of the year, this is a tough place to live with the amount of storms that it's very rough. So energy-wise, surviving here just needed a completely different approach. And that forced me to become far more embodied, become far more emotionally stable, if you will, and just have more capacity and understand, dude, it's not about you. It's just not. You have a different role, and that role is beautiful, but it's not at the center of the stage. It is the stage upon which others can play. And as long as you hold yourself in that way, which I bring to my work, I don't want this to sound like aggrandizing, but I see it as being an oak, basically deeply, deeply rooted. And in that shade, you can do whatever. You can find shelter. You can swing on the branches. You can do what you need to do. Feel safe. Feel protected. I will go over the frameworks and the boundaries so that you know exactly what you can do and feel safe inside of that. Let's call it a sacred space. And that is, as far as I can tell, at least for now, the role that I play as a more of a iron forged masculine presence. Call you out on your bullshit because, oh my God, you're going to test me. I expect nothing less. It's just the type of women that come to this. They need to know, can this person, they've gone to every therapist and they've run circles around every therapist. They are so intellectually strong. They basically they can intellectualize their own problems perfectly and then not do anything, not make any actual changes. But it sounds very impressive. And I will say on day 2, hey, sweetie, will you stop that? And now we can go and do some actual fucking work.
Well, it is. And the women in your life and how you lift women up and help them achieve is just where the change they want to make, especially the those of us who are very driven and don't know how to find that balance is just tremendous work. So if people want to connect with you and the Rite of Passage and the work that you do and really look into participating in this or learning more, where can they find you?
Tony, thank you so much for just humoring me. Thank you for having me on the show. I'm sure that there will be a link down in the description to where you can find us. The method that we use, or that we use, is called the Arrival Method, and you can find that on adventuresinquietplaces.info. That's adventuresinquietplaces.info. That's where we explain everything. There's an explainer video for who this is, how we work, why we do what we do. There's a lot of mood pictures there to get you fully into the atmosphere. And from there, let's have a talk, because we don't say yes to every. But on top of that, this is one-on-one work. And the Irish season is very short, which means there's not a lot of space. So we need to make sure that you like us and that we like you.
Yeah, absolutely. The chemistry's got to be right. Well, thank you, Niels. It was such a pleasure to hear a unique perspective, and one that is genuine and authentic and gets results. I mean, more than anything, gets results. And so I'm so glad that we met and you reached out, and I'm going to be cheering you guys all along. And if everyone's looking to connect with me, I'm not hard to find. The hockey side of my life is at kwings.com. And then everything else I'm working on is at tonywill.com. The big news is Rebellious Success is out. It is in bookstores. It is everywhere you can buy books. And so I'm excited to finally say it is out. And I'm on all social media platforms as well. And until next time.